So let me start off by saying that um, in the past, couple of weeks, um, there was a thought form. It's still out there, and first, let's just say that we are in shifting timelines. Shifting timelines. We are full throttle going within the next decade and beyond the ascension process, and that's going to happen whether we're on board with it or not. It doesn't matter. It's moving forward. However, our experience of the ascension depends on our choices. That's how powerful we are. Okay. And it has to do with thought forms, it also has to do with emotions and many other things. But right now, we're thinking about the thought forms. Where, our thoughts, well, first of all, there is the mind of God. We are in this mind feel of thoughts. And in our particular creation, okay, we have both the higher thought forms, okay, and we have the lower thought forms. And we are in a creation that is dual or dualistic. Um, what Jesus the Christ said in one of the Gnostic Gospels, he called it the mixture, mixture. We are in a mix. And so there goes, the ongoing struggle between the light, the higher and the lower, the animal body, the spiritual body, this dualistic dynamic, which requires decisions and choices. That's what we have. And when you realize who you are and how powerful you are, okay, your thoughts and your choices literally ripple throughout the cosmos. Now, the great illusion and the great delusion is that, oh, we're not that powerful and, we don't really have any kind of power. And well, that has been the great, great, great deception. And there's a lot of deception out there because, there are those forces out there that don't want the ascension, don't want us to go into unity and balance and peace and cooperation because it serves the agenda for certain forces out there for us to remain in chaos and to continue with war and bloodshed and suffering. And we know the story of the earth. So I don't have to go any further than that. But now, not going into the cosmic story, how did we get here? Well, there's quite a few explanations, but to make it really short, on all traditions basically said that something happened from the original plan, and there was what I call the service to self group. So whether you want to call them the fallen angels or whatever group, that says, you know what, we are going to do our own thing. So instead of God's will, we're going to do our will, because guess what? We can co-create too. And that is one of the blessings. I mean, we hold the similitude of the divine. So we are creators. And so you have other forces that are creators too. Now, they have chosen not to align with the divine will. Okay, what I call service to self. And so service to self group is like we like being in charge of manipulating energies because these little humans have some great, resources that they know about that they want. And many of us don't even know that we have how coveted we are. Okay, so without going off topic, us being so coveted, we have something that's powerful that everybody wants. Okay, and what is it? We hold tremendous light. It's in us. We have been created from way higher realms, the Adman Kadman and Kabbalah, very, very high. And somehow we have fallen as a world, fallen. And we're trying to come back into our original stasis of where we were, that we still hold even we are in this body of density. So the road back in a world of duality requires us to make decisions. And we either align with all, as you can see, the masters, the ascended masters behind me, all the great saints, all of them has said, the path of love is the way out. Okay, but that's competing with the physical needs of the physical body, the animal body, which of course is a temple because it holds the divine, but it is also competing for its own desires, which not necessarily align its own pleasures that may not necessarily align with the higher aspect. And so there goes into struggle. And as Jesus the Christ said, the path is narrow because this is not a walk in the park. And I'm sure everybody can agree with that. But I also want to tell each and every one of you that you have the power. You know, that song, You Have the Power, you have the power. And it's just a matter of developing it. It's a matter of being committed to it as you walk your spiritual path. You know, to each step by step that you tap more into that part or what I call the higher parts of yourselves that starts to open up, expanding your consciousness. And as you do, you become more empowered. Your cosmic memory starts to come back. A lot of different things start to happen to where now, instead of being unconscious about it, you become conscious about it and you make engaged decisions, which is so powerful. Is one thing going along saying, well, I think this may work and I'm going to say a prayer and we'll see, and we'll see what happens, versus I am aware, I am awake, I am engaged. I don't work by myself. I work with the family of light. Okay, that is my tribe on higher dimensional realms, and the universe if this little planet, this beautiful little planet is as diverse as it is, can you imagine the diversity that's in our universe, not to mention multi-universes? It's just beyond our concept and is gargantuan. But through all of that, we hold the power because we hold the similitude of the divine. We do. And so that's why we have thoughts. And the mind is very powerful because when you project a thought or an intention, energy follows that. Thoughts are energies, and everything is a vibration in this universe, in this creation. And so the thoughts, okay, which precede actions, all right, is like the first step. And what I want to say is that the family of light, there's also those that are aware. They're very aware of the power of the thoughts. They're aware of everything. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. It depends on what you do with it, whether it's for the light or not the light, whether it's, pro-human or not. And we're not just operating on our level. It's way higher levels. Okay. And just like you have the ascended masters and, the family of light, and they are there for us, you also have a hierarchy of higher ones that are the antithesis or not anti-human, what we call the service to self forces. And this is spoken of in many of the Gnostic Gospels about that. So um, it's pretty much, two tribes here. And we are here to free the planet, okay, to bring in harmony, to bring in peace, those things that all of us say, wow, shouldn't it be, why is there suffering? Shouldn't everybody be eating? Shouldn't, what kind of God does this? Okay. And so the bottom line is that, we are little mini gods or demigods. We hold the similitude. And so, really, what impacts a lot is our decisions and choices, as well as up the other higher dimensional realms. And the dimensional realms, they are there holding the light, wanting for the divine plan to fulfill. Okay. And we are the boots on the ground. But I will tell you, that our thoughts, okay, are as powerful, okay, as those that are on the higher realms of light. They may be holding it, but if we are ignorant and we're thinking and not even realizing, our thoughts have power and we're just allowing our thoughts go any kind of way, and then our thoughts start thinking about the emotional dynamics, somebody who had some conflict or something that happened 10 years ago and that's coming into your mind, cluttering all your thoughts. Okay, keeping the thoughts in chaos, keeping reruns going on over and over again that don't serve us. That is the mental clutter. That is the agenda and of those forces that say, yeah, stay like that. But we don't have to. We have the choice to not do that when we begin to awaken and realize how powerful our thoughts are. And it takes practice. And where these thoughts come from, well, you could start with just having positive thoughts and monitoring your thoughts. And every time you feel yourself slip into a thought that doesn't serve you, that doesn't serve humanity, you can stop it and change it. And I did that for years because most of us operate unconsciously and our thoughts are just running amok on all things. We have thoughts that get us upset and we're by ourselves and we're upset. That triggers our emotions, which takes in another layer of things. So that is, we are in part of our um, universe. We are in mind, the mind of God, mind. And so we have as a choice, as a creation that is dualistic, to decide where we are going to align our thoughts with. And the more you align your thoughts with those transcendent qualities that are all anchored in this higher heart of unconditional love, of, a heart of service, okay, a caring heart, okay, what they call the higher heart of compassion, as Kuan Yin and others have demonstrated, okay, is that is what you may say your shield, the divine shield of great power. Now, there is, the passage where Jesus says, turn the other cheek. And, people said, oh, well, what does that mean? Somebody's like a wimp and you can't let that happen. And yeah, there are times that that part of you as a spiritual warrior must come forward. But the metaphor behind that is that when you can walk your path of peace and centeredness and become that impartial observer, not allowing drama to dictate your world, as you can keep your thoughts aligned with the will of God, which is love, joy, happiness, and so forth. Keep that mentality in the higher thought form, of peace, of healing, of understanding, of support. Keep that mental, even with individuals who may think different from you. Fine, so be it. So be it. That's fine, because everybody has a right to express and be and think the way they are, okay, and what they do. But that does not impact you, okay, from staying in your positive, higher thought, electromagnetic field around you. Okay, that's the, and we all have our little individual, our experience in the world really is unique to everyone else, and it's dependent on our thoughts. So coming from a place of compassion and unconditional love, yes, there's a myriad of thoughts. And if we didn't have thoughts, how would we have creations? And how would we, do the things that we're doing? It's these thoughts. But the thing is to bring the thoughts in alignment. Now, there are many thoughts out there. Say, for example, a lot of times inventors. There is a higher thought form coming from higher worlds, saying, hey, this would be something that would be positive and good for the world and humanity and all her life. Let's bring the thought form of electricity in, or the thought form, back in the beginning of fire, or the thought form for whatever it is to say, this is information that can be helpful. Well, you'll find that many people tap into that thought form. And so many times when you're in a copyright office, you have like two or three inventors that come up at the same time with the same thought. Why? Because they tapped into this thought form that was circulating, and somebody's going to tap into it, and whoever gets, I guess, to the copyright first, their name gets on it. But you've had many people who come up with the same idea at the same time. And what about, you have trends? What are trends? Trends is a thought form that people are tapping into, and more than one, and these are thought forms. Okay, now the thought forms that we want to align with are the thought forms that are coming from the higher vibration, the thought forms that are coming from the celestial realms of light, the thought forms that are in alignment with the divine plan. So it is anchored in love, okay? Not hatred, fear, competition, power, ignorance, not that. There are other thought forms that have certain agendas. And from the beginning of this creation or the fall, the thought form of war, a lack of resources that you have to fight for, the thought form of separation. Okay, those things were put in place. We've been having war since the beginning. It is a crusted, what I call a crusted thought form. And that thing has just been circling around the planet. It has been just sucking people into it to the point where you have generations. Okay, something happened way back when, hundreds and in some cases thousands of years ago, and 5 6 generations later they're still pissed off. I mean, the people that started this, they're dead and they're gone, and you have their generations following the same pattern of this thought form, that it is kept alive by passing on, animosity and, revenge and all of those things. It becomes alive, and in fact thought forms can become like sort of independent entities, where they're just kind of like on their own. So we have to remember, as powerful co-creators, we have we create a lot of stuff, and it's really kind of scary when you're creating stuff in your life, you're not even aware of what you're creating in your life, because you are not taking control, or at least being aware of the thoughts that are emanating from you, because thoughts is power. It brings energy, and they do manifest. And depending on the level of thought, the emotional body that's put into that, that's why affirmations, can be very successful, because that's one of the ways of like gearing your thoughts towards something consciously that you want, and you say it over and over again. It's like having to deprogram unconscious thoughts, and putting in, the thoughts that you want, that are more serving to you and to the planet. um Being conscious now, we're no longer supposed to be like, just unconscious and ignorant. We now have to step up our plate and become aware, whatever that takes, your own personal study, your own personal spiritual practice, whatever it is for you to move on, because that higher part of yourself is calling you, and it's trying to tell you how powerful you are, and that we are in a sea of vibration of thoughts. And if we do nothing, we are manipulated all day long by other thought forms coming in as creations from other entities for their purpose or for their ignorance. So, what we're going to do today, and I just wanted to tell our Facebook Light workers that if you do come across this, or you happen to be listening now, um, I'm going to just talk a few more minutes on thought forms, and then we're actually going to do the Saturday Sabbath for those the that are on Zoom. And if you're interested in participating, just please look down our Facebook page, Cosmic Center Spiritual Light, and you will see the link to join us, as well as you can join our newsletter and also look at our website for information, as well as our YouTube. And we do have people that are here at the center that's going to hold sacred space as we do this very powerful work. And I say the word powerful work because we are powerful. So before I end, I just want to mention that the past couple of weeks, we got together as the family of light and we dismantled, or at the very minimum, weakened thought forms that I became aware of actually for some time. I became aware of, and it's not gone yet, of a thought form of a civil war. And this is like, I don't know, maybe 9 months ago or something like that. Very concerned about that, did my own prayers, but said, hey, we got to muster up and come together as the family of light. It's more powerful. So if you could think of one laser beam, but then you have others coming together with the same thought form, okay, how powerful is that thought form? And so that's what happened. We did it on two occasions. We did it because we knew there was tensions coming up, could feel it, could know it on the 6th of January here in the United States of America, and that there was potential for violence. And we got together and we said the names of God. I believe that's what we did to anchor peace, to anchor the Ose Shalom. These are names of God we use, which are words of great power. And I would say definitely, and as I've mentioned to others, in my heart, 100%, I feel we mitigated. It could have been way, way worse. So the fact, and not just us, of course, people around the world that hold peace in their heart, all of that, okay, is helpful towards shifting timelines. And I absolutely believe, I know that we shifted a timeline by being very focused and saying we're anchoring peace. And that's the timeline that we want. And if you can't eliminate it, because these thought forms are pretty crusted, they're pretty strong. We can at least mitigate it. And I believe that happened, that things were not as worse as they were on the 6th of January. And then you had the inauguration in the United States of America. And again, great potential. We got together that Monday. People again around the world praying for peace. Nobody wants this. Everybody wants to evolve and do different things. And is there corruption? Of course, we already know that. Been there, done that. That's why we're here coming together to try to say, let's move forward into the higher frequencies of light, but we don't have to do it so, dramatic where there is so much pain and suffering. We That's an energetic we just need to have move out of our creation. And how we're going to do that is, not with more people killing each other, which has been the greatest manipulative tool since the beginning of this fallen creation. We need to stop that. And so we got together and we focused on that day, and again brought in the words of power. This is our mental and emotional, uh, open and awake and engaged selves saying, nope, no violence, no killing, no assassination, no, none of that stuff. We want peace. And I would say on that outcome, was able to move forward without any major violence. Now, are we out of the woods? Oh, no, no, no. And that is why we're going to have this, this information as to how you, yes, you, and you could do it by yourself. You could get a group together, but just doing it by yourself, just doing it by yourself, how powerful it is. And so I'm going to tell this one story real quick of my personal experience and how I know that this works. So this is many, many moons ago, many, many years ago. After 9/11, uh, I picked up a thought form, and it came in a premonition, in a dream, in a premonition. And I saw like another 9/11 happening, except it was not tall buildings. It was like I don't know, like a municipal building, how you would see. It was not like a skyscraper, but I saw very clearly. And in this dream, it was in slow motion that this plane was going to crash into some sort of a municipal building. And I remember saying to myself, oh no, not again. So, of course, when I woke up, that was very disturbing. And I'm like, what's the sense of having a premonition if there's nothing you can do about it? That's where I was at the time. So, anyway, I went about my daily life. Of course, that was always in the back of my mind going over. And as it turns out, I took a vacation. I went to Las Vegas and I stayed at a MGM Grand, and my mother and my son came with me. And when I walked into the room, it had a large window, which was the exact window that I saw in the dream. It was and as soon as I walked in, I said, "Oh my gosh, this dream would not like leave." So finally, I said to myself, you know what? No, 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 I don't want that to happen. I was really upset. And if those of you who maybe remember the old Ghostbusters movie, they used to have the zero with the slash on it. So that's the visual that I put, okay, and what I saw in slow motion and the plane diving down. And I just prayed. I prayed. I actually was upset. I said, no, 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 no. And I just held the intention that that would not happen, that, it's not going to happen. Some miracle is going to happen. It won't happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to the airports today, how you have to take your shoes off? It was in relationship to this time where it was somebody from England, I believe. I remember hearing it on the news, and he had put like explosives in his shoes. And by literally the grace of God, the grace that many who hold peace in their heart um, uh, intercepted it intercepted it. And I remember when I heard this on the news, and the thought came to, did I do that? Now, not saying that I did it on my own. It is all, you never know that you could be the tipping point. That one person that says that prayer, that one person that lights a candle, that one person that constantly say, I pray for peace, that one person that does the mala beads, that one person that does the rosary, that one person that does the meditation, say, let me anchor peace on the earth. You just don't know if that might be the tipping scale to shift a timeline for the better. Absolutely. So, do I know that this is real? I absolutely know that this is real. And ever since that experience, I was mostly guided to say, yeah, that's who you guys are. You could do that stuff. I'm like, wow. So, when I watch TV, and, we could go on. Yes, there's fake news, and but there's some news that is real, and there's that, we already know the sea of misinformation that we're in. But most certainly those things that I could tell that are real. There are people suffering out there. Okay. I use for me that little symbol of the Ghostbuster symbol. It says, no, I'm not accepting that. And then I use my God given power of visualization to change the scene that I'm seeing on the TV screen. So where you see blight and the war torn, communities and all of that, I see green grass. I'm putting my imprint on there because yes, I'm that powerful. I'm seeing children holding hands together. I'm seeing the new generation growing up and having a higher understanding, that will not repeat the same pattern over and over again. Now, can you imagine if more of us do that together? Can you imagine the power that we have when we unite together? And I know that many, many of us have said, we're done with this, not on our watch. We don't want any more of this stuff. So I'm here to tell you that you do have the power within you to do that. when you dismantle a thought form, in whichever you whether you pick it up psychically, whether you get it in a dream, or whether you just sense it and know it. We have multiple psychic abilities that are wired in us. That's it's our own DNA knows this. Even if we don't, there's our body can tell you if there's something not right, if you sense something is wrong. There are many people that have been saying that, wow, I'm not feeling the energy so good on the planet. There's some stuff coming up. I don't know what that is. So many people get premonitions, but you don't need a premonition. You could just sense it and you could say, I want to dismantle this thought form. Okay, and dismantling, how I see it is that we say prayers, we put the intention of the higher thought form coming in to replace this other one. So if you see this negative thought form, for example, that may be using, mind control or, other nefarious things to excite people emotionally, get them into stress and all of that. You can hold a thought form, okay, where you see that thought form and say, hey, look at my thought form, sort of like, a green meadow and water and people smiling and they're breathing and then the breath is so powerful. That is the life force. What if you had that visualization, that mental thought of peace and balance, joy and happiness and cooperation, and breathe into that? Breathe into that. Emotionally bring your higher heart of unconditional love and infuse this thought form that you are creating, okay, to replace or at the very minimum, mitigate, mitigate the nefarious thought form. You can, at the very minimum, we have the ability to mitigate it so it doesn't have to be at its worst potential. You yourself can do that. You can make that tipping scale. And then when you come together as the family of light and do it together, the outcome is just boundless as to what the ability we have to do. So, with that, I'm going to say namaste to our Facebook Live family. I hope that you have enjoyed and gotten some insight about thought forms. I would tell you there is just massive amount of information on thought forms now that you could get. Just Google thought forms, and from Theosophy they talk about thought forms. Lead Beater talks about thought forms. There's just a lot of information. So if you want to know more about thought forms, that's something you could research on your own and you will get that information. Okay, so I'm going to say namaste to our family of light on Facebook Live, and we'll be switching over now exclusively to our Zoom group. Bye, Facebook Live family.